Mr. Branson, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I'd like to start and go back when you were 15 years old. You decided to leave school, you wanted to start a magazine, and you pretty much dreamt of changing the world. That didn't exactly happen, but you have managed to achieve a lot of things. Are you happy with the way the world is right now? Is it good to you, per se?
Well, the world is extremely good to me, and I've had the most enjoyable life, I think, of anybody I know, and I'm still loving it. I spend quite a lot of my time now on issues like conflict resolution issues in the world, and obviously, you know, the world. I mean, if you live in Syria today, the world is not a happy place at all, we have a wonderful organisation called the Elders that are trying to help resolve that conflict. And in fact, Lakhdar Brahimi was actually here in Russia yesterday, who's one of the elders, you know, meeting people from Russia to try to get agreement as quickly as possible so that we can spare the people of Syria any more misery. And I think if we can get Russia, you know, Russia on board and America on board, and the Syrian government on board, hopefully we can get that problem resolved.
How does it actually work?
Well, the Elders are actually an organisation of 12 people that Nelson Mandela set up, and they have people like President Carter, Nelson Mandela, Kofi Annan, Archbishop Tutu, people with high moral authority, and they work as a group to try to resolve conflicts. And then sometimes the individual elders, I mean, Lakhdar Brahimi has been asked by the United Nations to try to, you know, work with the various countries involved with Syria to try to get this problem resolved. So, since you asked, am I happy with the world? Obviously, Syria is a miserable place, and it needs to be resolved. And it should be top priority, I think, of every caring politician to get this problem resolved.
Now, of course, there are many casualties in Syria right now, and we've seen for the past couple of months, but you yourself have faced death a number of times, especially on your travels on the hot air balloons across the ocean. What made you do it over and over again? I can imagine it must have been so painful for your family as well, the amount of goodbye notes you probably have written.
I always love a challenge. I have great difficulty saying no, and if somebody says, you know, nobody's flown around the world in a balloon, or nobody's climbed a mountain, or you know, I just say, well, let's try. And I'm sure it wasn't easy for my family, but now my children are doing it with me. So we just climbed Mont Blanc, you know, the highest mountain in Europe, a couple of months ago. We just kite surfed together across the English Channel. We're going into space together. So my children, I think, understand why I like to live life to its full, and they're now doing that with me.
Is your wife happy with the fact that your children are now doing the exact same thing that you did?
I don't think she's wildly happy, but she certainly loves seeing her children doing what they want to do, and I think that's what mothers are for. So, and we try not to take unnecessary risks. I mean, we have wonderful, exciting challenges, but I try to make 100% sure I bring the children home.
Now let's go to something a little bit more serious, and we're talking about the time when you were editing the magazine, and you did that. You started up the magazine trying to stop the war in Vietnam, from what I understand. Do you think journalism can actually change the world and the course of things that is happening?
Oh, I think journalists can certainly change the world, and the internet can change the world. I mean, it was you know, through the internet and through journalism and the public that the Arab Spring happened. I blog on Twitter and Google Plus and Facebook, and if you have an army of followers and you want to try to sort out a problem in the world, and you get other friends who've got a big influence to do the same, you can sort these problems out. So, you know, I campaign a lot for the oceans and trying to stop people killing sharks in the oceans, and you know, we've got quite a lot of laws changed around the world thanks to, you know, the internet, and so I think journalism is and the public working on the internet very important.
But journalism can go to extremes as well, especially with what we've seen happen with the News International. Where do you think the UK journalism is heading?
There's responsible journalism in the UK and there's irresponsible journalism, and there is, one or two newspapers that are very sort of extreme in their thinking, and I suspect we need more. I mean, but the good thing is that the internet is counterbalancing that, I think, and so we used to have a newspaper in England, well, we still do, called the Daily Mail. It really influenced people in a sort of, I think, a slightly negative way. But I think the internet will hopefully start balancing that now.
And what's your take on the whistleblowers of today? For example, Julian Assange. Do you think he's a hero or a villain? What's your opinion?
I would not call him a hero or a villain. I think the mistake he made was not editing. He had incredible information, and he could have made thousands of great stories without putting at life some people around the world, and so I think perhaps he went a bit too far. Generally, I'm all for 100% freedom of the press, but I think in that situation, there were definitely we're doing a lot of dealings in Zimbabwe, trying to bring about democracy, and then suddenly we saw what we were doing and trying to bring about democracy appear, so Robert Mugabe could see it. And sometimes you don't want a dictator who is doing bad things to find out, that other people are trying to bring about democracy, and it can put lives in danger.
Now, your upbringing was definitely much different than your children's upbringing. And if we talk about the youth right now in the UK, do you think they have goals? Because we've seen the riots take place in 2011. What are UK teens like right now? Do you think they're lacking motivation?
I think the UK are not as politically minded as they were when in the 60s, so yeah, they should have stopped the Iraq War. I mean, there were big demonstrations. There should have been even bigger demonstrations, and so I think if anything, the youth are not loud, not vocal enough in this generation. I think that when politicians are going to take countries to war, we've got to stop them doing it. Wars are easy to start; they're almost impossible to stop. They cause so much misery, and politicians should be clever enough to get rid of leaders that are leading badly without having to involve millions of people in bloodshed and war. I think that, the young people, there is too many people unemployed, and I think personally that nobody should be allowed to be unemployed. I think you can share the jobs that are available, you can share them around with everybody, which might mean that people have a 3-day weekend instead of a 2-day weekend or whatever. But there is room to make sure that everybody has a job, and I think that would resolve a lot of the problems in the world.
A little bit of a general question now. Would you say you are a dreamer, a visionary, or an entrepreneur, or all of that? And in which order then?
I dream big, and then I try to make my dreams become reality. So, I dreamt of going to the moon one day, and in the end I decided not to wait for the Russian spaceship company or the American spaceship company, and we built, we're building our own spaceships to take us into space. I think everybody should try to dream above what they're capable of, and then try to catch up with your dreams.
And now, Virgin Atlantic in particular, and everything that happened recently, you lost the bid to EasyJet. I know you're fighting for it from the latest reports that we've seen. What's next? Virgin
Atlantic is a really quality airline. It's a fun airline. It also has, a large business class section. And we think that actually Virgin Atlantic is more the kind of airline that people in Moscow would want to use between London and Heathrow. And that flying from Gatwick in a quite a very small plane is not such a good idea. So we think the Civil Aviation Authority made the wrong decision. But obviously the ideal scenario is that you have 3 carriers flying to Moscow. I mean, if Moscow is going to expand, and if Russia is going to expand, the more airlines you have flying people into this country, the better. So I'm speaking with, I'm hopefully meeting Prime Minister Medvedev this afternoon, and I will see if anything can be done, and we'll cross fingers.
And there have been a lot of rumors about you being in Russia very often, frequently. Everyone's trying to figure out, will you be investing in the country? Are there any other projects perhaps taking place? Is there anything you can tell us?
Well, I mean, today we're going to be doing a lot in Russia. Today we announced that that we were going to set up, invest a lot of money into trying to reduce people's energy output in a positive way. That so, Russia's had all this oil, and therefore they've never really tried to preserve energy. And if you can preserve energy, then you can export more oil. So, we're putting $200 or $300 million into Russia, into trying to invest in companies that can come up with good ways of saving energy.
But nothing in particular right now that you can mention?
That's the Virgin Green Fund, which we're going to start from today. But we'll be looking at mobile phones, we'll be looking at quite a lot of other investments as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.